warm introduction, Lieutenant Lockett. I appreciate that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be back at LOA in person again. Been a long exodus there for all of you and for the exhibitors next door for sure. It's a real honor to speak to this group. It's a real important gathering of dedicated maintainers and logisticians who've committed your lives to serve our nation. And it's a pretty critical time to be wearing a uniform. You're absolutely critical to our ability to wage and sustain combat operations globally. As I was preparing for this speech, I had a lot of help. For instance, my wife was reading over my shoulder and she said, listen, don't try to be too charming, too witty, or too clever. Just be yourself. I think my son's advice was maybe more useful. He was an F-16 maintainer at Hill Air Force Base a few years ago. And so when he stopped by, he said something a little more concise and to the point. He said, Dad, just emulate the latest fashion trends. Be long enough to cover the subject and short enough to be interesting, and then be gone. I don't know, I thought a maintainer might appreciate that. So look, while you're getting yourself settled in this morning, for about your third briefing, I think. You don't have a panel. It's just me. And we're going to talk about a few things, and then you can throw some questions this way if you want. I think we've been running that way for a few days, and we'll keep doing that. But think about the challenges that you're facing. Everybody's been talking to you this week about ACE, which I'm kind of happy to see, because the last time I was at AFA in D.C., a lot of people came by when we said ACE, and they were coming by our booth going, can you tell me about it? That hasn't been the case here. And I think the leadership has really been getting the word out on it. But, you know, it's pretty important to step back and realize the important job that you're doing and how challenging it is every once in a while. So I think this video may appeal to some of you. Now we'll see if we can make this thing work. Here we go.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here, and if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know?
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost a one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking you've all had a day like that once or twice. So look, over the next half hour or so, we're going to spend a little time talking about the Marvin Group, the Air Force's new Doctrine Note 1-21, entitled ACE. I didn't say the whole word because you've heard it too much already. And how the Marvin Group's been working to develop solutions that enable ACE over the past decade or so. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you are in a maintenance role today? How many of you are in a logistics role today? How many of you aren't sure? Okay, good. Good, we got that sorted out. All right. Well, I'm just going to say welcome again here to, let's see if a slide will come up. There it goes. Welcome again to LOA. And just a pitch for all my exhibitor colleagues in the other room. You know, they came here to show you what they've been working on. And a lot of what they work on is what you express a need for over time. So if you haven't had a chance to go next door and spend a little time, try to figure out how to do that today. You know, it's the last day for most of you. I think there's some meetings for education stuff tomorrow, and some people will be tearing down Saturday and Sunday and all that stuff, but there's a lot of experience here. You got one more day to really network amongst yourselves, network amongst the exhibitors that are over there that really want to hear from you, and maybe even show you some things that might make your job easier herding cats. because you're going to be herding cats in places you haven't thought about herding cats. If this ACE doctrine, or ACE note actually becomes doctrine, y'all are going to be challenged beyond belief. And it's new in most of your lifetimes. There's a few of you out there that I could name, but I won't, who were doing this before, during the Cold War, et cetera, but we've been out of that a long time. And most of you weren't in the Air Force during the Cold War. So stop by, see them if you get a chance, help them learn something, and maybe learn something for yourself along the way as well. So maintainers and logisticians have provided the underpinning for sustaining our Air Force and Space Force warfighting capability forever. The Agile Combat Employment Scheme of Maneuver recently signed by the Chief of Staff means that your skills, I believe, are more important than ever and are going to be tested beyond what they've been tested in the past. Your job now, with your day-to-day challenge, you've got day-to-day challenges in your job, but the work is critical. And General Brown has challenged all the functional communities to actually work with the commanders and figure out how they're going to meet the needs, because it is definitely different than what you've been doing. It seems to me that the sustainment core element of ACE will be the biggest focus of most of the folks in this audience. New approaches to deployment and sustainment will require new tools that empower multi-capable airmen and support a variety of aircraft in sortie generation. Therefore, I'm going to present some of the Marvin Group's on-the-shelf solutions that might accelerate your preparation to execute under ACE. So the Marvin Group, located in Southern California, includes 3 companies today. Our flagship is the Marvin Engineering Company, Marvin Test Solutions, and Marvin Land Systems. Next door, you'll find representatives of the Marvin Group at booth 318 if you haven't had the opportunity to visit them already. Maybe you can do that later today. The Marvin Group is made up of industry-leading companies providing alternate mission equipment, armament test equipment, and environmental control systems for the military. The Marvin Group designs and develops, manufactures, and performs the life cycle sustainment of all the products and solutions that they make. And the companies in the group are all focused on delivering unrivaled long-term support to the warfighter, which means whatever they make and deliver to you, as long as you need it, it's not going to go obsolete, and they're going to sustain it. Even when somebody says, I only need that equipment for 2 more years because they're going to retire that A-10, I know they're going to do it again. First time I remember hearing that was about 1991, right after the first Gulf War. Okay? And the one thing I can tell you is we've got customers in our group that we've been supporting for over 25 years, and they've never had to change the equipment or the level of software that they were satisfied with. Just as an example of that unrivaled long-term support. We've been providing solutions that enable multi-capable airmen to ensure that the tailored force packages that you're going to be supporting at made up of various aircraft are fully mission capable where and when they need to be without fail. We know that failure is not an option in your profession, and sortie generation is critical. The next video demonstrates what you ensure works first time, every time, and why you are so important to the United States Air Force.
Bombs out. Bombs away. Get ready to I'll get my arm blown off. Nice! Oh my God! That's just a fucking bomb.
Holy fuck. Somebody relied on that JDAM being delivered on target, on time. And you heard the enthusiasm and the exuberance in the background. You made that happen. And you make it happen every time. So Marvin Engineering Company, the flagship of our group, a global leader in design, manufacturing, and sustainment of armament, including bomb racks, launchers, and pylons. You see a lot of them on there in some examples. Marvin Land Systems is a designer and manufacturer of environmental control units and auxiliary power units. MLS has deep experience also producing weapons stations and shelters tailored to military missions. At Marvin Test Solutions, our motto is we make test easy. Throughout my career in the military and the private sector over the past decade, I focused on connecting with maintainers and logisticians around the world about the tools that they need to ensure full readiness of mission-critical systems required for aircraft sortie generation, despite the environment they find themselves operating in. Some of that's kind of the challenge I think the chief has put before all of you. No matter where you find yourself operating, ensuring sortie generation without fail. So in fact, many of us at MTS are veterans, and we're passionate about building on our experience to create solutions that make tests easier for maintainers and logisticians based on the challenges that they face today. That's why going in that room next door and sharing some of the challenges that you have might actually result in something to make things easier across all the vendors that are in there, because they pretty much all bring different capabilities to the fight. But if you don't share it, you may not see it. I don't know about you, but I saw that acquisition process can sometimes be a little bit long in the tooth, even with AFWorks and SoftWorks and RSO and all those other kind of things today. Communication still counts when it comes to getting requirements in front of people who can actually meet them. So take advantage of them being here. So there's a history of innovative test sets for armament and munitions primarily out of MTS that actually I think you're going to find in this briefing today actually support ACE. And we were doing this long before ACE was kind of in vogue and written in a doctrine note in the last year. It was clear over the past decade that the tools fielded with aircraft, in many cases over 30 years ago, lacked the capability to be as agile and mobile as ACE demands today. In fact, deploying from main operating bases to forward operating locations to initial contingency operations is not new. It just hasn't been executed broadly since the end of the Cold War, and certainly since 9/11. Therefore, the drive toward common procedures and maintenance equipment across functional communities, I think it's fair to say, faded over time. But now the focus is clearly back on today. So Marvin Test Solutions supports a warfighter with innovative test sets that you can see in front of you, from the flight line to back shop and the depot, to increase performance, decrease equipment footprints, reduce training time, and are capable of servicing many different aircraft, in essence providing a common armament test set to enable a multi-capable airman. So what is ACE? I'm going to do this. I'm probably the last guy that's going to show you this quote. I'm sure it's been up here maybe once before. But a proactive and reactive operational schema maneuver executed within the threat's timeline, not ours, to increase survivability while generating combat power. And I think you've had a lot of speakers this week say that's probably your most important job. Throughout the integrated deterrence continuum. There's 5 core elements of ACE. I could give you all a test, but I won't. I'm just going to focus on sustainment because I think that's probably what's most relevant to y'all in here today. Through the use of a streamlined and reduced agile logistics footprint to support tailored force packages that are lethal and survivable and with highly maneuverable deployments to places that you may be for just a few days. ACE is designed to support faster response to threats, reduce vulnerability to attack, and the ability to operate from austere locations for extended periods of time. It's fortuitous that the ACE concept has been adopted by the Air Force at this time, given the current situation in both Europe and Asia that I know you're watching closely. I highly recommend that you read the Air Force's official doctrine note 1-21 on ACE if you haven't had a chance to do so. The key enablers, pretty straightforward. There's 2 of them up there: expeditionary and multi-capable airmen, tailorable force packages. With the change from the large regional basing strategies employed since the Cold War and 9/11 to now the focus on preparing for more agile deployments in multiple dispersed contingency locations, the tools and resources that you use daily will inevitably need to change as well. Functional communities are now charged with identifying these requirements. And one example would be, try to load up the equipment today for the 3 or 4 airplanes that are going to be in your tailored force package you're going to be supporting at Tinian or Saipan. How many pallets are you going to need just for the operational level armament test equipment? I can answer that question. It's more than one. Because every one of those weapon systems has its own test equipment, doesn't it? Operational level, eye level, lots of boxes. In the test equipment domain, we've heard from airmen over the years who say that the ideal support solutions are going to have the characteristics you see on the slides in front of you. While the list might not be all-encompassing, and if you've got a few more, please stop by our booth and let us know. And we'll work them into what we're working on for the future. But I think many of these align with the challenges that you're facing as you move from a pull to a push logistics system that ACE requires, maximizing mission effectiveness. However, I'm certain that it would be difficult for anyone to find many in-use pieces of test equipment today that encompass all these features. To illustrate how the principles of agile combat support are translated into real-world solutions that are not available today, I'll provide you just a couple of examples of how the Marvin Group has been creating and fielding solutions with these concepts in mind. These solutions were underway even before CSAF signed the doctrine note. Marvin Test Solutions is already on target to enable ACE with highly rugged, portable test sets that are easy to use and train to, easy to deploy and sustain, and most importantly, capable of supporting all the armed aircraft that may be operating together in a tailored force package. For example, the multi-capable Smart Can that you see pictured there is the most advanced handheld O-level armament test set on the flight line today. Imagine being able to support both legacy and smart armament tests for all your armed aircraft, both fixed and rotary wing, with one handheld test set that provides faster setup time and test times, full test system support, test log results for troubleshooting and predictive maintenance, which I know a lot of you have been spending time talking to the folks that are providing some AI solutions next door, and importantly eliminates the need for the multiple heavy box solutions that have to be carried out to the flight line. And I'll bet a few of you have helped carry those 2-person lift containers. That goes away with the Smart Can, and you can see it over at booth 318 if you want to. It's in use worldwide today, making test easy on a flight line in over 12 countries. Most recently, the Air National Guard acquired 44 Smart Can kits to support their F-15, F-16, and A-10 fleets. That's the first down payment of the total they want to buy to support those legacy aircraft. Doing everything from gun test to AIM-9X, AMRAAM, JDAM, SDB, etc., all out of one container. They eagerly await approval to begin using those on their aircraft. They're going through a cybersecurity evaluation right now that should wrap up hopefully within a month or two. The Marvin Group also has a configurable armament repair depot called CARD. Now, I live a little closer to Las Vegas than some of you and our owners do for sure, and the CARD is kind of not a bad acronym if you live near Vegas. But it doesn't describe exactly what it is. It's really eye level plus. There's no machining going on there. There's no coatings going on and stuff, but it provides repair in the region where you may be executing ACE so that you don't have to go all the way back to the main operating base depots that we've got established today. So you could actually get repair and get a repair cycle set up in the area that you're working, cutting down the logistics cost and time typically associated with repair beyond what you can do at the eye level. So again, this was something that was put together to help streamline mission rapid repair to increase and optimize mission readiness. Now that may be something you go, I don't know. You wouldn't have it at every base for sure, but it might fit somewhere forward in the region. So some of you know what a Queen Bee operation is, right? Used to have a lot of back shop level, pretty extensive engine work being done at many bases overseas. And then probably 20 years ago, somebody said, you know, we can consolidate this to one base in the region to manage all of these different engines. And when we did that, things actually got repaired pretty quick as long as you kept the pipeline fed. And so this is along that similar line, I would say. So importantly, CART includes all the test equipment required for repair and troubleshooting, and then importantly, repair validation before you send it back out to the field to hang on an aircraft. You might be interested in knowing that those CART capabilities will form the underpinning of standing up the F-35 armament depot at Hill Air Force Base. As you explore the exhibits, and remember that the exhibitors are here to really work with you. Communication is really important and knowing what you're going to need. Some of those things are now being encouraged to be prototyped by the chief and by the secretary. Hard to prototype if you don't know what you want. So you might be surprised because companies are trying to lean forward to win business in supporting you and meeting your needs. So stop by and chat with them. Whether you're in the role of maintenance or logistics today, in this push logistics system that enables sustained ACE operations, chances are you're going to find something that you need that's going to make your unit more effective next door. If you haven't stopped by our booth, 318, stop by. You'll see these friendly faces there to sit down and chat with you. They'll be happy to tell you what they do, and maybe you'll find that that's useful for what you're doing. In closing, kind of let me say what a privilege it is to be here amongst all of you and to meet with you, many of you this week, as you did stop by, or I joined you in one of your briefings like this just to chat in the back of the room. It's been great, and I hope next year we get together again and do this. I want to thank you for all the work that you do for our nation, our partners and our allies. Pretty troubled times right now. I think it's pretty fair to say some of you are going to be packing a bag before you know it. In days gone by, I'd say some of you might be packing a bag on Saturday, heading to places that you can't tell us about. And we wish you Godspeed as you move closer to harm's way. But remember, all of us that are here with our companies next door and a lot of others that couldn't be here for various reasons, we're here to support you. And it ain't all about making a buck. It's making sure you've got what you need to do the mission supporting and providing for the security of this country. And so when you're downrange, if there's something that you need, reach back and let us know. You won't know who to reach back if you don't stop and spend a couple minutes troubleshooting or networking next door. So do that. You might find somebody that could really help you. I'm happy to take any of your questions now, if you got them.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
I know that we're tight on time. I'd like to offer one question if I can. Knowing the challenges that the military faces, the Air Force faces as we approach ACE, and I appreciate your perspective on that. Sir, what are some of the challenges that you have faced within the Marvin Group that you've been able to overcome that we might learn from going forward?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I told you that some of the stuff's been in development and been fielded for a year. So the acquisition process is put in place over the years through a lot of lessons learned by those in it, right? And people get used to the situation they find themselves in on a flight line, let's say. So if there was a two test set solution for armament in the past on legacy airplanes, and let's say one of them goes obsolete, the acquisition system is usually designed, go replace the one that went obsolete, not step back and go, is there a better way to do that? Could you combine those test capabilities of multiple sets into one? And I think that there's probably, as we're moving toward this ACE environment, again, which I would say we were living in the Cold War for decades, As we do that, we might need to look a little deeper beyond just logistics and maintenance to how the acquisition professionals are being incentivized to enable you in this room to perform the ACE mission that you're going to be doing, I think, for quite some time to come. So our challenge is to work, the 3 P's of the private sector that I've learned: patience, persistence, and presence. And all those that are here today are certainly working on the presence piece, right? And so it's finding the right people who are doing the work, showing them what you've got, then letting them bubble up through their system to ask, while we're working with the, and this is what all companies do, I think, working with the different leaders at the different parts of the acquisition process, et cetera, and the commanders of the people who are saying we really need this, to make sure that there's awareness of what is available today that could make the mission better, easier to, and I don't mean easy for me, just, hey, let's just make it easy because, it's life, we want to make everything easy for people. No, it's to be able to generate sorties with less stress and more confidence and reliability that when those crews take off to do a mission that needs to be done without fail, that it's going to be done. That's maybe a long-about way of answering that question.
No, it's perfect. Thank you for your time today, sir.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I think we've hit the end here, but you've been very patient. I appreciate it. Been a great crowd. So I've got one final video here for you to kind of end this out. You won't have to listen to the one that they're going to run, I guess. So I think, quite frankly, this is why you all are in this room. And maybe this will serve as a reminder of why all those people that couldn't be in this room today with you, that are out closer to harm's way today, appreciate what it is you do today and what you're going to do tomorrow. And I hope the wait was worth it. Thanks very much. Have a great conference.